I'm Steffi. So when I founded Brighton Futures, we wanted to overcome many of the problems people face when buying a home. And so the Brighton Futures team said, wouldn't it be nice to make a video to share the top 10 mistakes that I see people make when buying a home that you could avoid. Whether you want to build a home or buy a home, then I think this will be very interesting for you to hear. Tip number 1 is not to go by the first impression. So you might find a house that looks amazing, but if you look under the floorboard, there might be dry rot, or it might look spacious, but if you were to put your furniture in it, it would be really boxy. The other way around, it could be as well. You could find a house that has got a lot of potential, but it looks messy, or it's got the wrong furniture in it. So in that case, there could be a bargain in front of you and you can't see it. So it's really good to put yourself in the home and picture what you could do with it. Tip number 2, consider your travel patterns. How is that house and that location and that neighborhood going to affect your travel patterns? You know, it wouldn't make sense to find your dream home and you like a lot of things about it, but you're sitting in traffic for 2 hours every day. And you could think about all the places you're going to and how long it would take you and what mode of transport, but also it would be good to consider how that place where you're living is going to affect your travel pattern. So for example, in our Water Lilies project, there is so much in the community in terms of the co-working hub, the friendships and the car-free zone. You know, for example, parents wouldn't be travelling to the playground anymore because it's actually right there as part of Water Lilies. And a lot of people will be working on site either in the co-working hub or they're integrating workspaces into their own homes. So that reduces travel distance. However, Water Lilies is also quite far out, so for other aspects it will increase the travel pattern. So it's good to really think it through, how much it does affect your travel pattern. And also, I think for me it's also important where I travel. It was a very different experience for me to sit for half an hour on the motorway or to cycle for half an hour on a beautiful country road, or even driving I much prefer if it's a beautiful path. So that's tip number 2, think how it impacts you on your travel patterns. Mistake number 3 is not to consider storage. So storage is very important. You could have too much storage or too little storage. I really don't like too much storage. Some people actually like it, but I feel quite claustrophobic when I have too many things in the home. I feel like I really want to get rid of things. So I quite like to be minimalist with my storage, but I like to have enough. If you don't have enough storage space in the house gets very messy because the drawers are overflowing. So it makes a huge difference. Like when we design our houses, when I designed this house, everything has got its place. So the kitchen is exactly how big it needs to be. And same with the rooms, and there was built-in storage solutions so the rooms look quite empty. And equally, if you're buying a house, think how much storage you need. Is there already the right amount of storage there? And if not, could you reduce the storage that's there or expand it without the room not working anymore? Tip number 4, what are the neighbours like where you're living? So think about what kind of neighbours you would like to have. If you have children, maybe you want some neighbours with children who are of a similar age. You might want to have some grannies and granddads in the neighbourhood. If you have particular passions or you're working in a particular profession, are there any people in your neighbourhood that are also really interested in that you could hang out with, that you might make friends with? Is the neighbourhood set up in a way that you naturally are going to meet, or is there just a big road and with streets and people don't naturally chat, or is there maybe a park where you naturally get to know each other, or a cafe? Are there people who have similar attitudes to things or are of a liberal mindset so that everyone is tolerated in the neighbourhood? Tip number 5 is the house energy efficient and comfortable? So low bills for me, it's not just about saving the planet and not paying so much for energy, but it's very much linked to the thermal comfort, which is also very important, because a house that is well insulated and draft proofed and largely passive has very stable temperatures and is very comfortable, because the house is doing the work rather than the body always trying to stay not get cold or not too hot. And it increases the productivity to the point that the Brighton Futures team all want to work in my home, which is a near passive, very sustainable home. So we just love being here. And so I think that is very important. You can look at the energy certificate and you can speak to the past owners and see how the home feels. Mistake number 6 is not to consider the long-term value of your home. So say you want to sell your home in 10 or 20 or 30 years' time. How will the value have been affected? How will the value have grown in comparison to other homes? And I think what is interesting to consider there is how people will live in the future. So the changes we are seeing is that more and more people are starting to work from home. More employers are open to the idea. It's more and more possible with the developing digital technology, and more people are setting up their own businesses. So more startups have been created in the last 2 years than in the last 10 combined. So this move means people will spend more time in their home, and they will therefore value a beautiful home and a beautiful surrounding of the home more than before. So some of the other tips I gave you before will actually affect this even more. So if you want to make sure that your house increases in value and that you can make some money on it if you choose to sell, or if you choose to live, to make sure it is a home that provides for the future of you as you're growing older, or your children, or whoever you pass the home on to, then I would really consider not just how you want to live now, but how you want to live in the future, how other people will live in the future. And a key factor there is how beautiful is your home and what's the surrounding community. Is it a place where you and other people would like to be, because there is some great people around you. Mistake number 7 is not to consider the local amenities. I mean, by that I mean anything in the locality that you would really love to see there. For example, do you really like nature walks? Is there like really beautiful nature on your doorstep? Is there a really beautiful local cafe that you feel attracted to? Are there any other things that you really like? For example, if you're a climber, you might be really excited about living near a climbing centre. Where are the sort of communities that you want to hang out with? Or are they actually created right on your doorstep as part of your housing development? Mistake number 8 is not to consider the view from the house. So some people just look at what they can create inside the house, but I think it makes a big difference what view you have from the house. For example, where I'm working and looking out onto the garden, and I really like seeing the birds and the frogs and the cats, and we have a bunch of small kids because there's a home education group in our community hub, so I really enjoy looking at the kids swinging and climbing up the tree, which really makes me relaxed, and the windows are so noise insulated that I don't hear anything. But I love to open them sometimes as well, and just to hear the birds. Mistake number 9, and this is a really important one, is not to consider how the house will affect your household dynamics. And I give you some examples. For example, what's really important to me in the layout of my house is that I have an open plan kitchen with either an island or a breakfast bar where I can speak to the people in the room. A very well laid out kitchen that is the right size as well is important, because the difference it makes. I love cooking and being surrounded by people, and we find, like in our house actually, it's what it's meant is that people really like cooking, and we have got a lot of great food. So purely by the layout of the kitchen, we are more healthy, we eat more fresh food, we spend less money on takeaways, So it does make a massive difference. Likewise, you could be one of those persons who really like to just shut the door when you're cooking, so you would want to look for a house with the kitchen that is cut off. Although I would doubt anyone who's experiences open plan living would particularly want to do that. But likewise, I think something else could be, if you or some of your household members really like privacy or quite noise sensitive, is to buy a house that is well noise insulated, or where you at least have one room that is really well noise insulated, so people can go there, or where the windows are very noise insulated so noise doesn't come in from outside. There's many ways, like the architecture and the layout of the home makes a difference in terms of how people interact. So I would look to find a home that enhances the social interactions and the harmony in the house. Mistake number 10, I think this is the most important one, the grand finale. What is it? What do you think? It's basically not to look for a short-term fix of your house. A lot of people go and they find a house, oh thank God I found one now, I've looked so long, they've accepted the offer, and that's not a good idea. If the house works for you for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then you will have a problem at the end of the 5 years and you will need to go and get another house. It's much better to think through how you might want to live your life. Think about all the possibilities, what you would like to happen in your life, and you can actually look to find a house that can become a lifelong house. Doesn't mean you're tied down. It keeps the option open to always sell it, that's not excluded. But imagine you actually have a place that could be there, that could be your dream home for the rest of your life, and you never have to worry about having to move.